Hi, I'm Eddie Muller. Thanks for joining me here at Bar 355 for another trip through Noir Alley. Today, some 75 years after most of the films we call noir were made, people still debate what qualifies a film to be considered noir. Some maintain it's all about the look. Others feel it's a particular type of story. And frankly, it's this endless debate that helps sustain and deepen interest in the genre. Well, if it is a genre, which is yet another debate. One thing no one can argue, however, is when film noir reached its peak. That was unquestionably the end of the 1940s, 1948 and 49 to be exact. Today's offering, Act of Violence, is one of the very best films produced during this peak period. It was made in 1948 at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, a studio typically averse to crime dramas, which just goes to show how pervasive the black tide of noir was at the time. The film's failure at the box office, however, might indicate that the American public wasn't yet ready for a tough-minded exploration of how the good war could still infect the character of otherwise decent, valiant men. To me, Act of Violence is film noir at its finest, a seemingly simple suspense story that confronts such timeless issues as courage, cowardice, and the situational ethics required to survive during wartime. Beyond that, it offers an insightful take on the post-war expansion of American suburbs, specifically the development boom in the greater Los Angeles area. The use of actual locations makes this an amazing time capsule of mid-century LA, from the Angels Flight Railway on downtown's Bunker Hill to Big Bear Lake in the San Bernardino National Forest, and plenty of evocative locations in between. The story showcases all the sunny and serene enticements the Golden State has to offer, before turning over a rock to reveal the desperation and corruption lurking in the sketchier parts of town. On its surface, Act of Violence plays like an early stalker movie, with the great Robert Ryan as a mysterious trench-coated Terminator out to kill a revered war hero played by Van Heflin. But there's a lot going on under the surface, and that's a credit to the writers. Collier Young, who created the original 6-page treatment, Robert L. Richards, who wrote the screenplay, and James Gunn, who provided some uncredited revisions while the film was in production. Viennese emigre Fred Zinnemann, who'd go on to a fantastic career as an A-list director, maintained that this was the first film in which he felt he had total control of the medium. After coming to America in the late 30s, Zinnemann spent a number of years under contract to MGM, making what he considered frivolous B pictures. In an odd twist of fate, Zinnemann's fortunes as a director improved precisely at the time he finally learned in 1948 that both his parents had died in a Nazi concentration camp. His next 4 films, The Search, Act of Violence, The Men, and Teresa, all revolved around characters suffering profound aftershocks from the Second World War. Zinnemann's passion for high-minded material, as well as his skill at getting great performances from his actors, quickly elevated him to the top rank of Hollywood directors, where he created all-time classics in a variety of genres. Pictures such as From Here to Eternity, Oklahoma, The Sundowners, and A Man for All Seasons. It may be the only noir on Fred Zinnemann's resume, but Act of Violence stands among the genre's very best. Of course, it helps when you're working with extraordinary talents like cinematographer Robert Surtees, lead actors the caliber of Heflin and Ryan, and an amazing supporting cast. A very young Janet Leigh, she turned 21 during production, makes a striking impression in one of her earliest performances. Barry Kroger and Taylor Holmes are terrific as sinister underworld figures. But to me, the film's most memorable character is Pat, the weary and shop-worn prostitute played by Mary Astor. She relished this part, and although it's much smaller than her usual starring roles, it's one of the most vivid performances of her career. Released in December 1948, perhaps a few years ahead of its time, here is Act of Violence.